Welcome back. I'm Michael Bull, and this is America's Commercial Real Estate Show. This segment is brought to you by Real Crowd. If you'd like to do crowdfunding for commercial real estate, visit realcrowd.com. Well, today we're talking about self-storage, and I think self-storage is a very interesting topic for a lot of people. You think about the investment in self-storage. You don't have a lot of people in the space. Some people really like it. But there's always issues in development and operations, so we're going to get into that in this segment. Please welcome my guest, Scott Zucker. He is a partner with Weissman Zucker. He's also Deputy General Counsel of the National Self-Storage Association. He's here in Studio One. Scott, thanks for being with us.
Great to be here.
Well, Scott, as I mentioned to start here today, there's always some issues with operations and development that are concerning people around the country. And one of those things is, hey, we want to build these, and some people in some of these jurisdictions are saying, not in my backyard, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that. I guess the philosophy is they really don't understand the business and the service that it provides to the consumers in the area, both individuals and to businesses. I mean, we see a lot of success in the areas where self-storage is developed, and a lot of success both for the operators and developers as well as for the consumers around the area. But they see a lot of them, and they consider that to be a proliferation of self-storage facilities in the area, and they don't want it anymore. And so we're starting to see these moratoriums, and they're popping up around the country. We don't think there's just cause for it. We don't think it's fair. It's certainly, in our position, it's not legal based upon equal protection defenses. Self-storage is being treated differently than other business types. I mean, I've seen moratoriums where they'll allow strip clubs, but they won't allow self-storage facilities. It just is crazy, and it's just sort of a natural reaction to seeing them pop up. Yeah. But let me tell you, they're filling up. They provide a need and a service, and it's a little unfair. So we're trying to battle back around the country where we see these moratoriums.
Well, it's interesting because I think some people think of the little ugly buildings with the orange doors, but some of these developments are really quite attractive.
They are. They're beautiful. They're climate controlled, multi-story. They provide other services. We see, conference rooms and meeting spaces. We see other services being provided to the folks in the area. Mailboxes, eBay type services. They really try to provide a full service to their customers in the area. They're not bad. I mean, they are very nice. Some of them, in terms of the aesthetics from the outside, are beautiful.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think all real estate people are concerned with is ADA compliance. And in self-storage, is that something that self-storage people have to even be conscious of or think about?
Well, I mean, look, it's a federal law. The Americans with Disabilities Act applies to self-storage properties. They're public accommodations. We invite our customers in to use the property. They have to be accessible to the ADA. But what's interesting is the fact that there are now some governing laws under the ADA that apply specifically to self-storage, dealing with the roll-up doors and issues of access into the storage units themselves. So it's something that operators need to be aware of. It's something that the consumer who uses the property need to understand that they have certain rights with regard to the properties as well. But I know that operators are working to make their properties as accessible as possible and provide services for people that have any disabilities to be able to use their spaces. So everyone's trying to work together, but operators certainly need to know about the ADA laws and how they apply to their businesses.
Yeah, and also you were telling me earlier, and this kind of surprised me, if you could tell our listeners and viewers about this, even with your website.
Yeah, well, so we've seen some recent cases, and folks that are in the retail business know this best, that folks that are using their online web portals for purchasing, and we do this for self-storage, you do online rentals, online payments, so your website needs to also be accessible to the disabled in terms of governing guidelines of accessibility even for websites. So there's a recent case out of California, I believe, with a claim that someone that was disabled was not able to use the website for the purpose intended for purchasing something. And the courts found that that had merit, even though there's not any true federal guidelines as to what these websites should have.
Wow.
I hate to say it, it's tough to operate a business these days. You have federal and state laws you have to follow.
So what are some of the things in a website that would make it a problem?
Well, look, a lot of folks have videos on their websites to show the ease of their business. Those now have to have closed captions if there's any statements made concerning the videos. They have to be careful that their colors are appropriate, not too bright, not too flashy, not something that would annoy somebody. Their font size is large enough for someone who has difficulty with reading. So they have to take these issues into account. And there are some guidelines that provide sort of directions for developers to follow for accessibility. And they just have to go back and look at these guidelines and make sure they're following them. That's the best defense to those website claims.
Yeah, is be aware of them and head them off at the pass.
Head them off
right?
at the pass, absolutely.
So what are you seeing as far as lawsuits, and what are some other kind of legal issues that owners and developers of these self-storage centers should be concerned about today or know about?
Well, I mean, we see so many different actions coming up because self-storage is a business like any other business. I mean, you try to satisfy your customers. There will be tenants that are unhappy about things that happen at self-storage facilities. One thing that's unique about self-storage, and we've talked about it in the past, is that if someone doesn't pay their bill, these state laws that are throughout the United States allow the operator to sell their property at public auction without going to court. And
yeah, we've seen the shows, right, where they're doing that.
Yeah, so storage wars and things like that. You see that this can happen. And a lot of actions are brought by tenants who are very unhappy that their property's been sold, even though they didn't pay the bill. Okay. So we see lawsuits claiming wrongful sales or improper action. We also see lawsuits in the class action context of the plaintiff's bar who provides backing for consumer groups claiming that that concept of self-help foreclosure is unconstitutional, wrong, unfair to these consumers and these businesses. So they've brought some class action lawsuits around the country concerning some of those issues. And those are pending out there, and we think we can succeed on those, but operators need to recognize that there's some laws in the favor of the consumer that they need to be aware of.
How big are those suits? How many people are involved?
Unfortunately, with class actions and the uniqueness of self-storage tenants where you have multiple tenants signing similar contracts, they fall into a class of similarity, and you can go back a number of years under the statute of limitations, 4 to 6 years. So you could have classes that are over 100,000 tenants as part of that class. And and if you calculate then the number of dollar damages per tenant, you see claims in the millions of dollars. And that's certainly a wake-up call for a lot of operators.
Yeah. Well, I have some more questions for you. Since you're Deputy General Counsel of the National Self-Storage Association, I want to get some more information for our viewers and listeners, so stay with us. We'll be right back. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show.